No, I was streaming to my audience.
Oh, I see. I see.
Okay, so government. Anything else we want to say about FBI, CIA, Department of Agriculture, Education?
Yeah, he wants to. What does he want to do with the deal? What is the project want to do with the DOE again? It wants to.
I haven't read it all.
Something was. I think it was like sexualization of children here, or something like the DOE will get cut. Something like there's some big cut I know in the DOE. I have to read it again. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, children aren't being sexualized. I don't know what you're talking about.
But I don't want to get into the specifics yet, but the whole idea is like he wants to be more in direct control because the thing is with departments, the way the departments work is the Congress writes the laws that the departments have to follow, but the policy decisions for how the department's day-to-day operations is set by the executive branch. So by the president.
Right.
That's the problem. So
Yeah,
he could
that's too much
fire.
He's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to move energy and energy production in the opposite direction. More money in the fossil fuels. They're against the nationalization of our energy grid, which would be infinitely better than what the fuck we have now, and would drastically reduce energy prices for the vast majority of Americans.
So I think we would go in the wrong direction on almost all of these issues. Energy policy needs to start dealing with global warming, yesterday. Yep. And that needs to happen, and it's not going to happen.
Well, that's not in 2025.
What?
That's not in Project 2025.
Well, I don't know.
I think they talk about
on climate change.
There is a section, but like worrying about global. I don't remember reading that. Maybe I missed.
Well, they're not worried about it because they're all
that's
the oil
what
industry anyway. So
yeah, that's what
let's
I'm
get Janice Board's opinion on the government portion of streamlining all the executive branch departments under the POTUS. What's your opinion on that?
Oh boy. Okay, so fundamentally, and it's not been this way for any short period of time, I think government and rule of law in America, at its most basic level, has been broken for quite some time. I don't think it's run or done the way the actual citizens want it done. I think it's done the way the politicians want it done. I don't think that these public quote unquote servants are actually like serving the public. So the things that are on this list: climate and economy, abortion, family, tech, education, and all. Yes, Brenda. I'm sorry.
Could you give some examples rather than just, being general? What specifically?
I'll give you a specific on the 2025 one if you like. So,
well, hold on. I'll just say, in which area specific are you talking about? Because I was going to get to
the areas that you think that the government is not representing the people on.
Well, taxes is one. Wages is another. Like, the government is doing very little for the American people right now. That's why everybody's so pissed off.
Let's see that.
I agree with that. I think taxes are unfair, unbalanced. They focus more on the little man than they do on the bigger guys. And I understand the percentage, and okay, you tax $1 billion as opposed to $30,000. Yeah, you're going to get a bigger number from $1 billion, but it's a percentage value. When you take the top 1,000 earners of revenue or of just personal income, you take the top 1,000 earners from the United States alone out of the equation, the average household income drops by over $40,000 per individual.
So what do you think? They're
getting around the laws, tax. That's
so do you agree then, or disagree with them reducing the corporate rates from 36% down to, I don't know what it was, 32%,
21% or something like that.
Yeah, it used to be 36%. That's
I don't know. I think I try to stay unpolitical, on purpose, but
Right.
I do
I just
have
want-
political views, you know.
I,
And
I
so,
just
like,
want to know.
and I know. I'm not
just
trying
wanna
to
know what
political
you're basing-
show.
Yeah, I know.
I just want to know what your base. I just want to know what your
No.
basing your claim was. Is that the
No,
government
I understand.
isn't?
I understand.
Your
I'm not
claim is
trying
that
to
the government isn't serving the people, and I'm not hearing any kind of response to that. It's just a feeling that you have. Maybe it's just something you get
Is it
from
not
the
obvious?
media. From the
Well,
media.
I mean, as
Right?
as a whole, if you no, I don't take in media. I don't watch TV.
Of course you do.
Like,
Everybody does.
My
What are you talking about?
my source of news comes in the form of memes on 9gag. That's how I knew Trump had got shot. That's how I knew,
Jan.
like,
Oh,
just about
okay.
anything political or any kind of big news that happens, I find out through
So-
9gag. Like, I found out today that the tech company, I fucked up big time. that's how I knew that was happening, because I just happened to be at work
Yeah,
scrolling
yeah.
through memes on
It's
break,
just a glitch,
and I
man.
saw that.
So do you
Right.
think that maybe that your view of the landscape is skewed since you
No,
don't have zero knowledge about anything that's going on?
no, because I live in this country and I
No.
don't feel represented.
Oh, you get all your information from memes.
It's the best way.
No, it isn't.
Well,
No, no,
It's not the best way.
no. That's,
Okay.
that's
I
where
would
I get my
like to
political
move-
information.
I want to
I would like to move to immigration.
wait. No, one more. One
Okay,
more on
finish
government.
it, Lloyd.
Okay. So the big one, my problem with is the DOJ organization. He's saying he wants a top to bottom overhaul, the project, and it's for the FBI to combat the spread of misinformation. That is insane. I can't believe they're even. I
Yeah,
think
Trump just wants his
that's the
own
worst
turbos.
one.
That's all
How
he
is
wants.
that in the
That's
scope
what
of
it
the
is.
FBI?
That's horrible because
Because
like,
the FBI, it can be
DOJ
used as an
can now
authoritarian wing of the
pretty
government.
much target you for saying, "Oh, this was wrong," or "We think this is wrong," and that's just horrible. And so Ozian knows I go into certain topics that are not nice for the DOJ, and so I don't like that. That's my biggest issue with the government policy on 2025 is this FBI, nonsense propaganda hunting. That's my issue.
Well, I don't know what they
Elijah,
plan
I
on
have a question.
doing.
Where would you put yourself on the political spectrum?
I'm now independent. I can't say libertarian because the shooter is now being mediaized as a libertarian. So I'm not.
So
I'm
you
not-
can't be a libertarian?
Nope.
Why?
It's not good. I don't need hot air up my butt.
But
from the government.
A Democrat,
That's
a
a
Dem-
libertarian. We got to watch him now.
a Democrat,
I can't
a
have it.
Democrat could kill somebody, and I would still be a Democrat.
Yeah.
If you
I
want,
mean,
I don't want-
objectively,
now-
Democrats,
now with
Republicans, and everything in
2025,
between kill people every
I
day.
don't want the FBI surveilling my house.
They're not going to surveil
Easy
your house. You're
generalization.
nobody, dude. You're nobody. They're not going to surveil your house.
Oh, I'm not nobody.
Oh, nobody.
Yeah, we all are here. All of us.
Okay.
Nobody gives a shit about anybody here. Trust me on this. Well, except for maybe Leo.
I fully trust you.
Except for
Maybe
Leo.
next, Joe, we can break the government section down more and look into more detail into it. But the next portion is build the wall. They want to propose dismantling the Department of Homeland Security and combining it with other immigration enforcement units and other agencies, creating a much larger and more powerful border policing operation. They said they want to eliminate birthright citizenship, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
Almost
outlined in
all
the
our founding
Constitution.
fathers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the Constitution, which is ridiculous.
Well, yeah, we could have.
That's the one I think that's not passing. There's no
Yeah.
not a chance.
Yeah, the GOP today would elect Putin.
Reagan gave amnesty. I'm sorry, y'all. Other proposals include eliminating visa categories for crime and human trafficking victims, increasing fees on immigrations, and allowing fast-track applications for migrants who pay a premium.
It's literally,
We want to eliminate that.
fuck immigration. But if you give us some money, we might let you in.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
No, they want
You
to.
cannot take this political movement seriously.
Oh
They're
yeah.
fucking clowns.
Yeah, we
Well,
should
this
probably
is-
increase it, legal immigration. That way we wouldn't have so much trouble with illegal.
Now, this isn't necessarily Trump's opinion, but this is Heritage Foundation, which is very prominent in conservative thinking. So if Trump may not be the most conservative president in the world, but if they do get the majority, I don't see how
Yeah.
this will not be influential.
Well, the entire GOP is not conservative. They're radicals. Conservatives conserve. They keep what's working, and radicals seek to overthrow, right? And that's what the MAGA movement is trying to do. They want to overthrow.
I think we should overthrow the entire government. It doesn't work. It's broken.
I definitely do
I
not.
say that.
It works just fine. It's just not designed to work for you.
What do you mean?
It
What do
needs
you
to
mean
be-
it's broken?
it needs to
When
be
people say
tweaked.
No, I you know what, Leo? Actually,
big
I
tweak.
will. I'm going to swallow my words, put my foot in my mouth, and say I 100% agree with what you just said.
I agree. Pray.
I
Well, when people say-
1000% agree with what you just said.
when people say the government is broken, what do you mean?
Who said it was broken? Well, I mean, I didn't
Well,
say it was broken.
That Ford did, I
can
think.
explain that,
Well,
but
no, I just took my words back. So, no, it is not broken. It is
But-
perfectly
it's
intact and
100%
works
broken.
exactly how it is modernly designed to work.
we have a donor class that has electorates that tell you.
Immigration.
But yeah, immigration. So that point,
Build a wall.
Should we?
Mm,
I don't think I disagree with the first section of combining a different bunch of agencies into one nice immigration agency.
We could give them nice little lightning bolts on
The
their
reason I
borders,
don't,
too.
Here's a
disagree
nice
with that
middle
one.
of the road stance.
Yeah,
why
but
don't
the
we
reason I
why don't we
disagree with
make
that
a
one, I'll tell you.
concerted effort to reduce illegal immigration while at the exact same time increasing
why?
legal immigration?
No,
Why
that will
reduce-
never
Why
happen.
reduce
Because
this
it's
quote
illegal.
unquote illegal
One
immigration?
One person. Let Dad finish.
Well,
Thank
to,
you,
to
Dad.
answer Leo, because it is illegal. It is
So I
harmful.
don't give a fuck. At one point, it was illegal to free a slave. I don't care about legality. I care about morality. Why is it morally wrong to just walk into this country?
Let's
Give me an
do
argument.
this. Let's have a vote. Who is
Oh,
for open
democracy.
borders, closed borders, and regulated borders? So how many people are for open borders? Just say aye. No one's for open borders?
With which country? We're talking about with Mexico.
How many
specifically, right?
people want the United States? We live in the United States. How many people want the United States to
Yes.
have open
What
borders?
country do you want the United States to have open borders with? We border more than one
All of
country.
them.
blanket.
Probably all of them.
Everybody.
I'm okay with open
Delaware.
borders with Canada, but I'm not with Mexico. So we
We
need to
don't
be a
have
little
open
bit more
borders with
specific
Canada.
here. I know
We
we
don't
don't.
have
I
open-
said I'm
So,
okay
no
with it.
open,
I didn't
right?
say we have open borders with Canada. I said I'd be okay with open borders with Canada,
All right, we
but
got
not
one
with
vote.
Mexico.
But then what's stopping people who want to?
Well, let's say Mexico then, Leo.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
no, I'm not
Uh,
okay with that.
Okay, what about you, Issa? Issa's not here. So you got one person. So who wants closed borders with Mexico?
So close.
No immigration with Mexico. No one. Okay. So who wants regulated borders with Mexico?
Yeah, I do.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
So that's
Yeah.
4. So
But I think-
I'm the only moral person here.
I think you should refrain from thinking your opinions are moral. Right. So I think
every
yeah, we should
person is
regulate. We should
objectively
regulate the
perfectly
borders. But
moral.
we should regulate the borders, but I think we need to increase legal immigration, make it easier.
Well, I'm not opposed to that 2025 policy of consolidating the different agencies into one border agency because,
Very
With
much.
There was
different
an
agencies.
well, it's not agencies. So you have Homeland Security working with the. Is that you or me? Yeah, it's you.
It's not me.
That's me.
Not me.
That's me. I live in downtown Minneapolis. Well, not downtown, but downtown,
Right.
but close. And we have police here.
But you have different agencies working together, but they
I
don't.
think that's just fine. They
necessarily
don't need to
work
be
together.
combined.
They don't
Wasn't that the
necessarily-
whole
No,
I mean, the
idea?
branches of the military
Because-
all work together, but we don't have just one military branch that everybody serves in. There's multiple
But I don't
branches.
see the reason I don't like that is
because of their functions.
because you have this
Exactly.
narrative between the,
The
military.
Department of Homeland Security
different
does
agencies. Yeah,
different
I don't like
things than the
competition
Department
narrative.
of Health and Human Services or something like that. So
Right, but I don't
I-
like
there-
that competition
there's no
there
reason to
because it
combine
created
these.
a lot of confusion and this nonsensical face value, like, oh, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they missed this instead of just doing a bad job. Like that, 9/11 is a great example. So the CIA didn't tell the FBI information because probably they wanted.
Yeah, that's what Homeland Security is for,
Oh,
though, dude.
Yeah, that's what the DIA was formed for, Homeland. But
Yeah, the Homeland
yeah,
Security was
Homeland
supposed to
Security
fix all
has-
those things.
of their problems now, and they're not communicating with the CIA. I don't want to get into this.
So why should
There's a
no?
bunch of different.
They
still,
shouldn't.
even if there's consolidation, there's still competition, but it's a lot reduced. There's a lot more reduction in that competition between different agencies.
So
I like
I
that
don't
it's
understand
exposed.
why. I don't understand. Are you for big government or little government?
no, I'm for a little government, but
But you want,
if
but
you're
you
gonna
want.
be in the government, you cannot have a bunch of different agencies saying they're doing the same thing when they're not.
I don't think they
communicating
are
with each
saying
other
that.
properly. They all have different incentives to get the terrorists or whatever first. It's just not cool. Like it just creates more problems, confusion, paperwork that you don't want to deal with, and then it creates this like bias, nepotism side where it's like we got to protect
That's
only
what they
our
want.
guys in case we mess up, and we're gonna go blame these guys over here.
So-
I don't like that, and it causes an issue with people like me who are investigating crimes and organized crime and all this stuff. It creates an issue, you know. So,
So-
I don't like that.
You're in law enforcement.
No, I'm not in law enforcement. I do research.
I used to be.
I
You're a
certain
journalist. You're a journalist now.
cases.
You're a
I
journalist.
say that, but I research cases that were not solved or
Podcaster.
didn't care to be
That it?
solved by
Podcaster?
the DOJ.
He
So
researched
well, he's
with
got
the
it below his
Fleming.
name. He's a
Investigator.
researcher. I
I
don't
researched
see why that's
organized crime. That's what I
problematic.
Elijah,
Yeah,
like
I
the
watch
TV
videos
show.
on. I watch videos on YouTube
Fine.
too. So whatever.
Look, I watch videos on YouTube too, and I'd say I know a fair
No,
amount
no,
about
no,
business.
no, no.
It
Hang
depends
on,
on the kind. It
hang
depends.
on.
Immigration.
It depends on the kind
Oh,
of
hold
videos you
on.
watch.
Okay, can
Guys,
we?
I think-
What if? So what about this thing about consolidate, like eliminating Department of Homeland Security? So we created the Department of Homeland Security with the Patriot Act. I don't know if people remember after 9/11. So
Oh, I remember. It was a huge power grab, and now they want to make it bigger. That's
Well, no,
dumb.
they want to eliminate it
No, they
and
want
then
to
reorganize it.
reorganize.
But consolidate it with others, so the end result would be bigger. Yeah.
I mean, you got a
sounds
bigger
to me like
organization,
it'd be
but you got a
bigger.
lot more. You don't have that much competition. That's what I like. In government, no competition.
I don't
Market,
think there's
you
really all
compete.
that much
Government,
competition in
no
government
compete.
to begin
And
with.
you have a job to do, and your job is stated and in the contract or the law. you
If I
sign.
may make a radical statement that I don't agree with real quick, just to get a little flash conversation out of the way, just because I feel like it was a little bit necessary there. Because we're having this conversation in a YouTube video, it doesn't matter, and it's probably misinformation.
It matters now.
What is?
That's the name
It
of
does
the
matter
channel.
now. This
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 isn't-
whole conversation,
you just
Conversations aren't misinformation. Misinformation would be if we
but it's in
promoted.
a YouTube video.
So
That doesn't make it misinformation.
My point exactly. Now I don't want to like try and radicalize what you said, Brendan, because I don't think you meant it that way. But I did hear the statement, and I think somebody could take it the wrong way. That you said, "Oh, I watch YouTube videos too," and I don't think you meant to play down the
I meant-
legitimacy
I-
of,
I did.
of information that you can
I
get
do.
from YouTube.
I do
Because-
kind of too. Yeah, that's not where you should be getting your main information from.
And I
wait,
agree
so
with
when
that.
I watch college
should get
lectures
all
from
of your-
universities on YouTube, that's a
Well,
bad source of information? Or is the
Well,
source
no,
of
no, 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 no.
information
See,
not
it's-
YouTube, but the university that
point-
posted the video?
That's the point I was trying to get across, because it does matter where the information comes from and in what way you consume it. Like there are a lot of people on YouTube who push things that pretty much everybody here, I think, save maybe Issa, would disagree with, and that's like creation science, evangelism type things.
I don't think
Like
Lisa's a creationist.
Okay, who wants to build a wall and who doesn't want to build a wall?
The wall would be
I
the
don't
most
wanna
pointless
build a wall.
thing because see, this is the thing we got to think about.
Who-
The
Who
problem
wants to
with a
build
lot
a
of
wall? Yes.
nobody, but I'm trying to talk about the wall. Like I'm actually trying to be on topic here.
Okay,
The
go
problem
ahead.
the problem that primarily conservatives in the United States don't understand about immigration is they think that the majority of like the somewhere between 11 and 12 million immigrants that are here and illegal because they just chose one day to waltz across the border. That is false. 2/3, I think it is, or maybe even more, of the undocumented immigrants in this country are undocumented because they came here legally on visas and then overstayed them. So that's number one. So building a wall isn't really going to just stop people from waltzing over because that's not how we get most of our undocumented immigrants in the first place. Number two, it's not going to stop drugs because 90-something% of the drugs come through legal ports of entry. What's a wall going to have? Legal ports of entry. So the two main things that they want this wall to stop, because they don't really want the wall for these reasons, they want it as sort of like a monument to white supremacy. But the two things that they're claiming the wall is trying to stop, the influx of undocumented immigrants and the influx of drugs, it's not going to stop because that's not how those things get into this fucking country in the first place. So the whole concept of a wall is just a massive fucking waste of billions of dollars to build a monument to white supremacy in this country. We don't want you dirty brown people here.
Does anybody support the wall after that, or?
I would say that I support walls in certain areas. Walls where normally it would be unsafe or irresponsible to have border patrol guards constantly patrolling, because the border is an amazing, massive stretch of land. It's not possible for us to monitor the whole thing at all times. I think that in certain areas it would be more responsible to have some sort of fortification as a deterrent to illegal immigration rather than to try and build a solid wall across the whole damn thing. Because one, that would be irresponsible and probably implausible. But two, because it just doesn't seem like it's a necessary thing. I think that doing what we can to curb the amount of illegal immigration is a responsible thing to do. And I think that if we can, we should, because it makes both us and them safer. Because if somebody is deterred so many times from doing a thing, they're eventually going to give up on doing that thing or try and do it the right way.
Not if their
Unless
lives
the other
depend on it.
Yeah,
Most of
not
these
if the other
people
option is
just
death.
they're just trying to get asylum status.
And that's fine too. And
There's
I think that's a whole separate conversation about getting asylum, and rather than it
that's
just
what
being black
most
and
of the-
white, illegal
most of-
immigration, non-illegal immigration.
Yeah, most of the
there is that
people-
gray area of asylum seekers, and I will grant you that.
Yeah, but the right has been labeling asylum seekers as illegal aliens. But
Yeah,
they've been
and
doing
that-
it
and
for
that's-
years. They've been doing it for years.
That's a load of cow
They
poo.
just kind of want to get some.
No, it's true.
They want to
No. That's what I'm saying. Like that they do that is a load of cow poo. That it's completely.
Well, it
wrong
tells
of
you
them
what
to
the
do
agenda
that.
is. The agenda is to inflame nativist sensibilities.
Mhm.
Because this is about nativism, right?
Mhm.
You don't know what nativism is, do you?
You could just say nationalism. It's better.
No, that's different.
Okay.
That is different.
All right.
Well, so nativism is the idea that this is my land, and we don't want you dirty immigrants coming in here. Well, like Georgia found out when they banned illegal immigrants, and they found out there was nobody to pick their tomatoes.
Or pour their concrete, probably either.
Robin, did you have anything to say about border walls and immigration? And welcome to the stage.
Yeah. I just want to remind everybody that back before then, but
Bit
Oh, dear.
robot.
since
Bobby, you're breaking up real bad.
hear me,
No, you're
I
breaking
not
Very
very
robot-y.
clearly.
I don't know.
You need to
you have
pay more. You need to pay more for a decent internet.
I think
It's probably not
she
that. It
works
sounds
on
like
the
she might be
road.
on a phone. So if she has access to a computer,
phone
that's
is
probably a
fantastic.
Yeah,
little better.
I think Robin does. use
She's
her
a
phone a lot.
trucker. she delivers milk and stuff, so she might be on the road. So
That's
Oh
true.
yeah.
yeah, it's
They
just
get
shame.
5
But
people
anyways, with that, I thought they built all the parts of the wall they needed to. Anyways, but so
No.
who supports this Project 2025 plan to continue building
No.
the wall? Yes. Anybody say
No.
yes?
You can no.
What I don't know the specifics on that. Is it a, like one big giant continuous wall, or is it more
It's
like
just making it bigger, stronger,
with crocodile moats in the moat and lasers,
Does
and
anybody
crocodile.
say yes?
sharks with freaking laser beams on their freaking heads?
I think no, you got no votes here, Ozian.
No.
Okay, so 0 on yes because I'm the open border guy, and 1, 2. I know Robin doesn't approve of it.
Is it
Everyone. Maybe
Tentatively, yes.
it's a little bad, but it's better so far.
I don't
Go
know
ahead.
what's wrong.
That's still Robot-y.
Well, you're just far
Damn it.
away from the tower. Then
Give her a chance to talk.
Yeah, let's see if we can piece it out.
Well, I don't do that. I'm or
Yeah,
It's
it's
not.
not working, Robin.
Just
I'm
drive it.
sorry.
It's all good.
Stop and get a cup of coffee, and then use their Wi-Fi.
You got to remember,
No,
truckers can't
seriously.
just stop.
Well, you can stop and get a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can stop and get a cup, but like to sit at a stop for like an hour and have a conversation on the internet. I mean,
Well,
a trucker
no.
could, but they may not meet their deadline.
What do you think's the most?
Hey,
oh, go ahead, Ozian.
Mark, if
Market what?
yeah, I know Elijah can be a little crude sometimes, Mark, but he's been good on stage here. If you want to come up on stage and have a chat,
Crude oil.
So the whole thing with immigration is it's functioning as required. It functions to make sure that there's a pool of
Labor.
cheap labor that certain businesses, certain industries can take advantage of. You know,
Like
to
the
pick
agriculture
celery and things like that. Things that aren't easily picked with machines. Or
And let's not get started on all the economic benefits immigration objectively brings.
yeah, it does. True immigration. Yeah, that's why they don't want to increase legal immigration, because they want to keep it low
well,
so that people come here illegally,
Yeah.
and then they're at mercy of their employers, right? And they can't organize, they can't unionize, they can't complain, and they have to take the job they're given.
you didn't see the Congress convention.
Orange.
You don't see the link, Mark, or there should be a link posted up top.
No, he's talking about he didn't see the Republican convention. We're not really talking about that
Oh,
specifically.
yeah,
so.
he's Australian too. He probably doesn't care as much. But we're more talking about.
Can I be
It's
Australian?
up to you. Maybe you can give us like a rational Aussie
Analysis.
position, but I
Mark,
think we.
would Australia like adopt me? Can I do that? Can I immigrate? Can I
Well,
can I
we're gonna-
naturalize?
You gotta change it to a kangaroo.
I'd like, and we're also learning, Mark. So, but I'd like
do
to
I,
move
do I
to.
still have to wrestle a crocodile, an alligator, or not an
I-
alligator, crocodile, a great white, and a kangaroo to get in?
You should
I'd
go.
like to
You
move
should go
to
north.
climate.
For immigration, though, the
You should-
biggest one, I think, my issue is the suspension of due process. If you guys read that part,
Yeah,
the-
that's
No, I
just
get
fucked up.
yeah.
That is
Really?
So
really
pretty
fucked
much,
up.
yeah, ICE can come in and just deport anyone they want. That's the biggest issue.
And that, of course, we can trust the MAGA people to handle that appropriately.
I mean, that'd be crazy to see. Can you imagine? It's just hundreds of thousands, maybe.
There's a lot of things I could imagine that I don't want to. We already know that the Republican Party and the conservatives in general have no issue maiming, injuring, or even killing immigrants because saw blades and razor wire and stuff. That's already done that because of Abbott, who's a Republican. So, they've already told us openly, explicitly, we're okay with hurting these people. Like, we are okay with actively engaging in things that hurt these people, these human beings. Running from drug cartels and
There's a little bit of-
a kind of life that the average American is so motherfucking privileged, even if they're poor, that they don't even get anywhere remotely close to understanding. And that's the big
Yeah,
problem. Most Americans just don't get it.
Mark,
Let's
hello.
not forget they're perfectly fine also with like taking families, even though they advocate,
And
families
separating
are,
them.
they under Trump they separated the children from the families, and some of those children they didn't even know where their parents went, and they still had to, like after the fact, they had to sort it out after Trump got out of office, like where their parents actually were. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being a child that basically their parents cross the border? They don't have a decision in it. They're a child, and you get separated from your parents, and the government just
even
goes,
sexually abused.
"Sucks to be you." I don't know about that, Lee. I
do. It happened. It's documented.
So one of the notes of hypocrisy is, of course, Melania is here because she married Trump, and they want to remove that provision where if you have somebody in the United States who is a citizen, they can bring in a relative, right?
So,
and that would have prevented Melania from coming to the United States.
Yeah, it's Project 2025 too.
Well, I mean, as
Anyways,
I was talking about the other day, there's a lot of hypocrisy where Melania is concerned. Like their sort of Christian purity thing, and then Melania's done like nude photo shoots when she was younger, and I got no problem with that. It's just they will hassle sort of people for having a lifestyle that is sort of doing sexual things, but she did the same thing, but she gets a pass because reasons.
So the way I'm formatting this, Mark, is I'm just reading the BBC summary of this, and we've gone over the government section where they want to rearrange all the executive branch powers underneath Trump. And the second part, they want to do away with the Department of Homeland Security, which was created under the Patriot Act, and it's sort of like a power grab there anyways. They just want to strengthen it. And then, so we're going to move to climate and economy. So I'm just reading the summary. I want to do future shows. It's a 922-page document. I've probably read about 50 pages of it.
Most of I could only read 35 or whatever.
So the next section I want to read the summary of, and we'll go into more detail, I think, in future shows. If Trump becomes president, I think this is more important because I think some of this is very, very problematic. And climate
Can I
and
say
economy.
something really, really quick, Ozian? Just kind of like a side point, just because what you mentioned about Trump becoming president is probably the best place to put it. It's not like a super long point. It's just something that I think that we all need to keep in the back of our heads. And what that is that as president, there is a lot of things that Trump can do. There is a lot of sway and pull that Donald Trump will have being the president. What some people have called a sort of bully president, where this is a president that sort of, is hard on their own party in terms of, hey, let's get this shit done. But at the same time, we need to remember Trump can't do everything. And it's not all about Trump. And the election isn't all about stopping Trump. It's about stopping all the other executive, judicial branch appointments that he gets to make across all these departments and all these courts where these people may have the ability to affect policy for decades to come. So this isn't just about Trump or Biden. It's about all the other people they're going to, and the kind of people they're going to surround themselves with. So I think that we need to keep that thought in the back of our heads.
And it's down ballot votes. Man, like if people are watching this, you're dead set on voting for Trump for whatever god awful reason. Vote for a Democrat for down ballot seats and do a split government then, because I don't want this shit. I don't want this shit.
They want to. One of the things they say in that summary is they want to go back to the gold standard and slash corporate and personal income.
Well, we're going to that next.
Hard.
Climate.
That one would be very hard.
Climate and economy's next. So
I thought we were on that.
Well, let me read it.
Oh, okay.
The document proposes slashing federal money for research and investment in renewable energy and calls for the next president to stop the war on oil and natural gas, carbon reduction goals like what Biden did, one of the good things I think some people agree with on this channel would be replaced by efforts to increase energy production and energy security. The paper sets out two competing visions on tariffs and is divided on whether the next president should try to boost free trade or raise barriers to imports. Trump himself has says he wants to raise tariffs.
Taxes, yeah.
But the economic advisors suggest that a second Trump administration should slash corporate and income taxes. We already did that.
Again.
Anyways, abolish the Federal Reserve and even consider a reserve return to gold-backed currency. Go!
Yeah,
that one.
say hello to the worst depression the United States has ever had, even worse than the
Well, we need it.
doing.
We definitely need it.
That's what the Federal Reserve is for.
And that's where we're at right now, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, we might think that politicians hold a lot of power in our society, and they do. But remember, there's a class of humans more powerful than our politicians. They're the ones that actually really control things because they're the ones that use all of their economic power to influence the way that governments fucking act to begin with. And those are called the capitalist class. Those are the capitalists. They're not going to let us go back to a gold standard because they know what the fuck's going to happen if we were to do that. No. Fuck no.
Did someone just suggest we're in the worst depression ever? Did someone
No. Get ready for it.
No, Mark.
No.
Someone's
Mark.
Take us into one if we go back to the gold standard.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. It's just, yeah, I think someone said that's what we're in now.
I said that if we eliminate the Federal Reserve, we
Get
would
ready for a
collapse the
depression.
economy into a very bad depression.
Oh yeah,
Because
I mean,
the function of the Federal Reserve is to prevent things like recessions and depressions and inflation and deflation.
Oh, my apologies.
You had said no, Mark. Mark, you're correct. You're
recession.
talking about what I said in response to Brenda. She said, "Put the United States in the worst economic depression it's ever had." And jokingly, I said, "Well, isn't that where we're at right now?"
No, we're not. Actually, the economy is doing fantastic.
Oh, that's
US
okay.
I don't know.
If you remember, those economists just admitted that we are in a bubble economy because if we did go back to some type of gold standard or some type of commodity that had some
What's the inflation rate right now?
intrinsic value, then they
Year
just
on
be like,
year,
oh yeah,
or-
the economy would crash. So they didn't even know in their own when they had this they sent this message. These 16 economists, they didn't even realize they just exposed that we're in a bubble economy, which is hilarious to me. When they're like, no,
Well,
we're
you got to
not.
remember,
In the same breath, they're like, oh, we're not in a bubble economy. But then
regular ass
oh,
neoclassical
yeah, don't get
economists
thin.
aren't very
we're
smart.
going to have a depression. It's like that's pretty funny. That's hilarious. But yeah, I agree with getting rid of the Fed. We need a depression. It's going to happen either way. Either we go into a hyperinflationary one, or we go into this gold standard one where we just cut it a lot of the trade and a reduced amount of supply due to those tariffs come in, and then we start having that depression cycle.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the Federal Reserve only to the extent that it's just a monetarist organization that protects the capitalists from damaging the economy as badly as they would without it. But I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and say that like the Fed should just be abolished. I think that would be terrible. I think that would be terrible for everybody all around. I don't think that would be a good thing, despite the fact that, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the Fed. But honestly, if we're going to have a capitalist economy, I think it's better to have a Federal Reserve than not have one.
What would control the inflation? What would control the Treasury bills and stuff like that?
What kind of inflation?
Well,
or are you talking
Fed
about just
sets
inflation in
interest
general?
rates.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Fed controls Treasury bill interest rates. They control marginal reserve rates, and they control the next day interest, whatever the interest rate thing is, to control inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'd think that
And
the
protect
state
the
would be
purchasing.
responsible for that, not a sort of a different organization, right? Like so in countries like mine, the Commonwealth controls that. It's a Commonwealth organization.
I think
it is supposed to be the Fed's job, but the Fed's
is biased.
Appoint the chairman and the
Reserve Board of
banks
Governors.
appoint the board of governors. Well, all the board of governors and the chairman all come from the major banks, in the country.
Yep.
And the Federal Reserve itself is a private bank.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
can't wait to know who.
It's a
owns-
private bank that is controlled by a board whose members are selected by the United States Congress and
Yeah.
approved by the president. But no, I got that backwards. Selected by the president, approved by the Congress.
And it was
Yeah.
passed in, it was passed
1914 or 13.
1914
1913,
by
I believe it was, the Federal Reserve Act.
constitutional. I thought it was constitutional amendment. Was it
I
an
don't
act
think so.
or amendment?
Yeah, it was an act.
So it
the
was
Federal
just
Reserve
an
Act.
act.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve Act of
Okay.
1913.
Federal
So what's
Reserve Act.
what's the what we're talking about the economy now?
Woodrow Wilson.
Well, we're
December
talking
23rd,
so we're
1913.
talking Federal Reserve, gold standard, carbon reduction, and tariffs. So let's
Well,
talk
if we're
about
talking-
Federal Reserve.
If we're talking like Project 2025, they're proposing we abolish a federal EPA completely and
Yeah.
put it back to state legislation kind of
Yeah.
thing, which
Yeah.
is
Would just be
insane.
not good. That would be
Not insane. That's
Well-
good. Better for us.
no. That's
Well,
not.
so it'd be
Well,
the
no,
government.
it's
Not.
because
Get
when
the
you've
first-
got problems that are national reaching, like for instance,
Yep.
climate change is not thing that just will affect one state. When you're putting that down to, well, you just decide what you're doing, you've got externalization of problems. So a state that goes, well, we don't mind fracking kind of thing will affect
Oh.
other states. So you've got to have some kind of federal
Let me
regulation.
Mhm.
Mark. So when they say state, they mean the feds. So when they say the Federal Reserve should be controlled by the state, they mean the federal government.
You mean like the
They don't
centralized
mean
state?
No,
We
Yeah.
No, they do mean the federal government. So the Constitution says a state, but when they say that, they mean the federal government. So there's confusion there, but they're saying the
State, like
federal
when they say
government.
State of the Union.
Yeah, so State of the Union. So the federal
Well, that
government
means like the
supposed to
condition,
coin
state as in
currency.
like condition of the country, the state of the
Yeah.
union.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
state in reference
the
to a
generalization.
centralized state apparatus would be like, so the federal government of the United States of America is the U.S.
Is
state.
the
That is the
state.
state. They are a state.
what they mean.
The whole
Yeah.
parliamentary system of the United Kingdom is a state. Like these are different. It's like when they talk about heads of state, they're talking about the heads of the various government apparatuses around the world, the various states around the world.
Yeah. They're
Right,
not
less the
talking about
state
the
part of
50
the State of the
states.
Union, more the Union part of the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, union would just
Yeah.
broadly mean the country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the state.
So like the State Department, like who's the head of the State Department right now?
Isn't it Anthony
Some
Blinken?
asshole,
Something
probably.
like that? Am I getting that right? Or is
Victoria
he
Nuland.
somebody else?
It was a couple. It was Victoria Nuland. and
Yeah,
Anthony
well,
Blinken.
he's Secretary of State. Yep.
So what they're calling for, they're saying that it shouldn't be a private bank. This has been a controversy in the United States since
a long time.
1913, basically.
Yeah.
That they don't want a private bank to be in charge of it. They want the federal government to be in charge of it. But we say state, but we really mean federal government.
Yeah.
Well, but when we say state, we don't mean the 50 states. We
Yeah.
mean federal government.
The
And-
state
and we
just
make
refers to the
foreigners
national
pull their hair
government of
out.
the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that
Uh,
makes sense now, Mark. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that they're really talking about sort of like they're sort of talking about almost gutting the damn thing. I mean, they're talking about like taking away the Office of International Tribal Affairs and putting them back into media offices, returning enforcement and compliance function to the media offices, and in eliminating the standalone Office of Enforcement and Compliance. So they're really talking about absolutely gutting the EPA. I don't think it would be the EPA after they're done.
No, not functionally.
No.
Yeah, they're talking all executive branches. They want to consolidate under the president.
Well, they either want to consolidate or eliminate. Like the Department of
Yeah.
Education, they want it gone. They don't want the Department of Education.
Yeah, that's
No, of course not.
That's
It's
what
going
we
to
were
all be
talking up
Christian. Why would
here.
it need that? It's all going to be.
Yeah.
It's all going to be Handmaid's Tale, right?
It's going to be the
Yeah,
Department
so-
of Scripture.
It's gonna be-
And this is a bad thing though, because the State Department technically, because the president is head of state and head of government. So the State
Well,
Department
that's the same
would be
thing.
no,
The
in
head-
the
the
U.S.
head
it's
of
two different
state-
states.
The head of the State Department doesn't refer to the state as in the national government of the United States.
Another thing that Robin is saying is that it would remove FDIC insurance from banking.
That is
so
correct.
You can kiss,
Yep.
you can kiss your savings goodbye.
Like,
Down
who the fuck does
states
this other
or,
than to just make people's lives miserable? Like, seriously. Anyway, guys, I do gotta go. I gotta run over to a buddy's house, so
Thanks,
y'all take it
Leo.
easy. Brenda, hold the line, Brenda. Hold the line,
I'm
Mark.
not as knowledgeable
Mark!
on this as you are.
Better hold the line.
Well,
Yes.
I
Hold
don't
on,
agree
hold
with it either.
Hold
Like
on.
none of this stuff
Hold
makes
on.
any sense.
I think most
Well,
of the
actually-
Hold on. Who was saying that?
majority.
Hodor.
The only thing with the Federal Reserve
I'm
is
outta here.
because of the history with the Federal Reserve and just reorganization for something that's already been working for 100-some years just seems like a lot of doing nothing for. Now, there's a lot of like problems with the what's the word crony capitalism involved with putting bankers in charge of the banking. But then who do you put in charge of banking?
Exactly. Well, it's just a risk. So what's your trade-off? Do you want to go through the depression now, or do you want to wait for a possible or probable hyperinflation that you're going to have with a Weimar level,
We
type?
haven't had hyperinflation yet.
No, I'm
People
saying
do.
you would go through that if you
No, I don't think
liquidate
so.
a lot of the stock market coming down into services and products that people use every day, because you're going to have that. People are going to be like, why
Stock
would I
market is doing great.
if the commission is too high? There's just a bunch of borrowing, a bunch of collateralized assets. Why would a little person cannot invest? They have to go get a bunch of different regulations, financial regulations, just to compete with your regular, $1 million investor. And they're not. You're going to cut a lot of ability to access a lot of
Well,
wealth.
that's not
So you're
Federal
cutting that.
Reserve, though.
I know it's not Federal Reserve, but the Federal Reserve is allowing this to happen. It's allowing
if it was
to borrow a ton of credit.
It's not the Federal Reserve's job to like regulate that kind of thing. What
Right,
are you
what they-
talking about?
But
They
they actually
they-
should be, because they are bankers. They should realize what investments are going into what is the
It's not their
market.
job. Their job
Well, I
is
don't
Their job is
think
not in the job title.
I
But they're
don't think
bankers
a
who
recession
understand what
is or a
investment
depression is this inevitable thing that you're claiming it is right now. I mean, the market will
Spiritard.
absolutely go through, troughs and peaks kind of thing. But I don't know why you're saying, hey, in order to avoid a recession, we're going to have a worse recession. I don't.
Maybe this
Like,
will explain it better.
Objectively,
Oh,
housing was more affordable in the Great Depression than it is now. Objectively.
well, it's not though, because you have to look at how much money people have and
Yes,
what
the
the cost of housing
ratio
is.
in the Great Depression was 2.8. The
nobody had
average
any
cost of
money.
the house to the average income. The
Nobody
ad-
had
the-
any money.
Yes, you're absolutely right. They had no money, but it was more affordable to
and there
buy a
was
house
no
then than it
liquidity.
is now.
You couldn't get a loan. You couldn't get a loan.
You got to read
Whose
a
fault
book
is that?
from Murray Rothbard.
Is it the
Well,
people who are
that's what
who are
happens
earning
when
more
people-
now?
Wait. We're talking 2025. So
Yeah.
we're talked about Federal Reserve, which controls interest rates, it controls Treasury
It's
bill
not
rates.
getting any better.
It controls interest rates, the money supply, in order to soften
Inflation.
recessions and to dampen inflation, and it works just fine. Has been for decades and decades. It
Since
works
the
just
Fed
fine.
was created, we had a Great Depression, so it hasn't done the job that you're saying it has done.
It had a Great Depression 15 years after it was created. Yes.
Yeah, when it was
And we-
created, then you had a large amount of credit borrowing.
And
That's
then-
created a
and then
housing
we had-
bubble in Florida. That housing bubble in Florida created when it popped. That's when you had
And-
that Great Depression.
And then we had the that was a Great Recession. And then we had the Bretton Woods Accords, and then we got out the gold standard, and we hadn't had a Great Recession since we went out the gold standard.
But we're due for another one, because even the
We are.
Treasury. Look at the Treasury market. When they have an
Well,
inverse.
why do you say things like?
they're getting ready for a recession?
Why do you say things like we're due
Recession
for another
happened,
one?
though.
Yeah, but I don't want the
This is
recession to turn
timeline that
into a
you're on.
depression when we
This
have.
might be my little man thing
hyperinflation.
going on
That's
here,
what I don't
but I
want.
feel like the fact that I can't afford as much groceries as I could 10 years ago is
gonna get worse.
indicative of the fact that the economy is not as good as anybody
Inflation.
says it is.
Inflation
Well,
is at
that's
3%.
Inflation,
He said we have a bubble
fuck
economy.
It's
inflation.
at 3. It's
The
at
fact-
3%.
The fact that look,
Well, that was 1
3% year over
kinda.
year over year. Okay,
Yeah, I
it's
put
at
it here.
3%.
go over 10 years ago. Okay, it's much bigger than
Well,
that.
we're not living 10 years ago.
But
Of
that's
course not.
cost
We're
of
living
living,
10
and
years
there's
from 10 years
more-
ago, and it's
There's
bigger.
more than just prices in cost of living. There's also wages, and the problem is that wages have not caught up to cost of living
Exactly.
that
It can't.
people have
Yes.
gone through.
Exactly.
But that's not controlled by the Federal Reserve. That has to be legislated by the sort of labor
and this
government
goes
labor
back to
market,
the
and
fact that I
hasn't
said I'm
happened.
not represented by my government because the legislation isn't for the little guy; it's for the big guy.
Yeah, I don't understand that. That
Well,
doesn't make any
that's
sense.
fine. I get your
It's
feelings
just what
on
your
that. Like, I'm
trade-off.
not saying you shouldn't feel like that, but what I'm saying is that the Federal Reserve doesn't determine what people's wages are. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Labor
No,
policy.
Federal
but it
Federal
can't
Reserve doesn't. No,
power
But this-
No.
purchasing of
This here was getting us through a pandemic. This 2021, this is a 2, not a 1. This 2021, 22, 23 was getting us through a pandemic. Like this
Yeah.
this was predicted. Then you can go back to 2020 and 2019. They were too low. I'm sorry, a 1.2 and a 1.7% inflation is below normal.
Yeah, it is.
It's just like when Clinton had a negative inflation rate for 1 year. That's absurd. That shows
That's
we
good.
did have 1 year. With yeah, you say it's good, but to me, like we've had this argument before. I'm not going to do it again. We're not here. But
No, I
I
know.
think we talked about Federal Reserve. I want to move through this stuff. I don't know if we're going to get through everything today, but gold standards.
not with
really
that
quick.
attitude, we won't.
I know. Well, that's okay if we don't. We're going to do the
Hold
after
on,
show
hold on.
whenever they're done
Quick
with
vibe
COVID.
check. Quick vibe check. Is everybody here still friends? We all still love each other.
I don't know
I don't
anybody.
know if everybody loves each other here, but
Ozian texts me every night.
I still love you all.
Okay.
So with the gold standard, what do people think happens if we go back to the gold standard?
we're screwed. I was going to say
Yeah.
F word, but I'm trying to
I know.
Yeah, but what would actually happen? What would actually happen?
You would have a massive rush to buying up gold in the market because everyone's going to
Yeah.
try and get a piece, or they're going to try to hop on the train before the train.
No, but what would happen to the economy?
You'd have inflation everywhere. Like so Weimar level, you'd see that right away. Like you'd see all these different
true?
companies and services offering like 700% increase in products and services.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
What
it
he
would
says-
be absurd. Well, see, we got a bucket here, right? Imagine this is a bucket. So that's a bucket. Okay, whatever. They'll say this is a bucket of gold, right?
Okay.
Now, this bucket of gold represents a portion of our economy. Now, our entire economy is equal to the entire town I'm in. And the gold is the percentage of the entire economy. And we're going to see this bucket of gold. We'll just pretend this entire board is equal to the world economy. And I'll just make this bucket much smaller. Oh, I forgot to take off this.
You got to redraw your buckets, man.
Okay, so let's pretend gold is this bucket here, right? Gold is like this. And this entire board is our entire economy, right? So we're going
Please
to
put
pretend that...
AU on that bucket. Please put AU on that bucket.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Yeah.
You're freaking...
He likes
That
to
is
say,
kind of silly. That is kind of silly.
Triggering me like we've got a thing for that.
Oh.
you could have just put AU underneath instead of erasing.
AU. and then we're going to pretend this thing
Auburn
is
University.
equal to our entire economy
Right.
for the world, right? Economy, and that this bucket now but gold can be used to build stuff, manufacture stuff, and do other stuff. So it's like we're saying we're going to use this as a currency, but this is a commodity. This is like apples. This is like copper. This is a commodity that's being used for
a medium of
manufacturing
exchange.
stuff else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
imagine if people used their assets and things that they made or grew as currency. That'd just be fucking crazy.
There would be a barter system. So money is supposed to be like imagine you got an engine right in your car. Money is a lubrication that gets the engine moving, right? That's what money is. Contracts and money. That's the lubrication, gets the engine moving, gets it running, and then people want to throw gold in there. Let's throw some gold in that engine. And then the engine goes.
Well, they want to remove all the oil from the engine, from the pan. So
there's no country in the world that uses the gold standard anymore. Not one. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Nobody uses the gold standard.
So if we did this, would the U.S. government be able to pay wages for the military?
Yeah. Well,
Not
they
really.
could.
They would, but not.
They could.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the type of wages you're getting what you'd see now, right?
I think they would be unable. They would not be able to borrow the money to pay for much of anything.
To millions of ounces.
The entire
Print more of it. Why not?
It probably wouldn't even
it's
work.
gold.
It's
The
a gold
thing
standard.
is, you would have to fix the rate of gold to equal to the entire economy. And then if you get new people that are born, tough luck. You have to deflate all that somehow, arbitrarily deflate it when new people are born. And how do you grow the economy? Because wonderful thing about our economy, after we got off the stinking gold standard, is like we could grow. Like you could own 2 cars.
What do you mean?
You could get a bigger house.
You were on the gold standard in the 1800s, and the economy grew past the government GDP. Come on now.
We had
plenty.
Yeah, because we had work, we had infrastructure, we had industry, manufacturing. That's
in the 19th century, we had recession, bust, recession, bust, recession, bust. And since we had the Federal Reserve, that's all stopped. Right.
No,
let me ask a stupid question.
Since the Bretton Woods.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Allow me to ask a stupid question if I can.
Yeah.
What is 1 penny worth?
Whatever.
If it's not worth its weight in gold, what is 1 penny worth?
It's what you perceive it to be worth.
It's what we all.
It's tied to the entire value of the country. So instead of basically, correct, yes. So the entire economic power of the country, GDP, the assets owned by that country, that's what it is tied to now. It's not tied to one thing like gold. It's tied to the economic power of whatever country is backing that currency.
The economic power of it. So what's at the root of the economic power? What is the very basis of the economic power?
I can tell you, it's faith. It's faith.
Supply.
It's faith in the government of the United States.
I think there's a little bit of truth to both.
How much is the Confederate $2 bill worth?
How much faith did Stalin and Lenin have in the fight?
Just a minute. How much is a Confederate $2 bill worth? Nothing, because nobody has faith. Nobody has faith in the Confederate government in paying off their loans.
Some people.
But the thing is, the Confederacy doesn't exist.
Some people will pay actually a lot more money for that now because it's.
Everybody's talking.
Yeah,
but
the Confederacy doesn't exist anymore. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't exist, which is why it's not worth anything. But you've got to acknowledge the fact that America itself, as if you look at the land that it owns, the things that it owns, the power that it basically possesses, it has worth there. Like if you wanted to buy a section of land off the government, or you wanted to buy a, part of a department when it's selling all of its stuff, it has some sort of worth. So it's supposed to be tied to the country itself, not to any one thing in the country.
And this was kind of what the reason for my question was because, like, 1 penny, sure, it's not worth much to really anybody. You give somebody a penny, I mean, they're just as soon to throw it over their shoulder as they are to be like, I'm about to put this thing in the bank. It's worthless to most people. But if you get enough pennies, enough pennies, it's worth more to you. And I think that what you were saying, Mark, the perceived value of the country itself, the economic power, the assets of the country itself, are what give the money its weight. And
a dollar bill only has the worth that it has because people believe in the United States, in the government,
because the ability of the country, or the faith that people have in that ability of the country to fulfill the value of that dollar.
Because we all consume, and we need to consume, and that's the value that we all will objectively
produce and consume.
Yeah, but we don't really produce that much. We get China.
No, we do. We produce a lot.
China produces
individually. We may not produce that much.
GDP is doing pretty good.
So you know how much we trade with China? It's a lot more than you think it is.
We have a net import, but but one thing the U.S. has is because the world does have. There's something to this faith about the U.S. dollar. The world has too.
Yeah, we brainwash a lot of people.
Well, that's because it's tied to oil sales throughout the world.
No, it's not tied to oil. That's not true.
The petrodollar is
Petrochem is in U.S. dollar.
There was no agreement to tie it to oil. People just.
But I think we're
established.
I think we're off the gold standard.
Sure.
So I want to go to carbon reduction. So they want to roll back what Biden has done with carbon reduction. I wish Dr. Dave was here. He's much more versed on this topic than I did. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with what Biden did with his acts for carbon reduction. So because a lot of conservatives don't believe that. If they do believe in climate change, they don't think it's human caused, and they don't think it's going to be a crisis. So they think we need to be energy independent. Now, I understand being energy independent, but that doesn't necessarily mean we need to. It looks like right now, some people are saying by 2035, we're going to go right past the Paris climate accords. Anyways, if we stay on the same track of being 1.5 C degrees higher than the industrial era, I think the 1850s.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Trump pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord, which is incredibly disheartening and incredibly reckless. Like when talking about the environment, I did see part of his speech. It's not the RNC, but part of his speech is on the environment. He's talking about clean air and water, and that's it. Like that's all he cares about.
You have to understand the climate is just like the border. It's a means to get people riled up to say we all support this good thing. If you really want to help reduce your carbon footprint, you should be investing in nuclear and thorium reactors. Both sides have not made such an investment, which tells you it's just for propaganda purposes. But I have a more controversial statement on this.
Nuclear reactors are just a stopgap method, though. We need fusion.
That's all you can do.
We don't have fusion technology yet. And thorium reactors don't have the technology yet either. We have these discussions all the time. You should join them when Dr. J runs his shows. There are other measures with like new battery technology with lithium iron batteries, because lithium is pretty plentiful. Lithium iron. iron.
Really? Okay.
Iron.
Bing!
Because iron is plentiful, lithium plentiful. They're both recyclable.
Right.
Um,
So climate change is a real threat to the United States. It's a real thing.
the world.
Right?
It's real,
Whoa.
but some
Yeah,
people
and-
defer if it's actually a threat or not. Yeah, that's the issue.
What?
That's what the people are saying, is if it is an issue or not. That's
Who
the
is the people? Who is the people?
people who are skeptical about it. So
Right.
you got a large amount of skeptics.
Yeah,
coming
so,
in saying that.
I don't really care if sort of, so scientists are saying, hey, we've studied this,
Sure.
we've devoted our lives to studying this, and it's a real thing. And even now we're seeing water levels rise and
Yes,
things
it is
like
a real
that.
thing. That's not
And-
the issue you're listening to, though. You're hearing something else that I'm not saying. So the issue is people are saying, if it's a fear, should we be worried about it? Some people are like, nope, we need more global warming to offset some of the cooling happened in the last ice age. That's a fair
Yeah,
statement.
I think that's
Well, that's-
insane.
I accept that. That's where, why not?
But that okay, we had it. We're in an interglacial period, but the world cannot heat as quickly as it's been heating without disrupting the ecological systems of the planet. Natural climate change is a real thing. Dramatic climate changes will disrupt the earth and cause
Instability.
instability. The problem is that with the carbon increases and the changes to our oceans, eventually we will hit a tipping point according to all the models and predictions. And Sabine, if you follow Sabine, she's a science communicator.
Wren?
She's not Sabine.
It's being Hassenfelder.
I was making
Yeah,
Star Wars
Sabine
reference, sorry.
Hoffenfelder has some really bad takes on some stuff. To be
She
honest
is
with you.
not- She is not a like a scare tac. She doesn't like. She takes a fair neutral position, though. Is my point, Mark. Even if you don't
Okay.
necessarily agree with her
no.
positions on climate change, and or what her positions are in the various issues. The point is, she looks at all the papers and she gives her fair, balanced approach. And we need to do something about climate change. Pretending it's not an issue
Well,
is
of course we
ridiculous.
do. Yeah. No, I don't think any different. The real problem.
Actually, a benefit more global warming. I know it's
No,
very
it won't.
controversial.
No,
You're
it
dumb.
won't.
You're just
This is
dumb.
a conspiracy
You're dumb.
theory. You are talking out
So
of your ass.
the thing is,
Got more population.
the problem isn't so much like how much carbon is in the atmosphere currently. It's how much we're dumping
literally
into
is.
it.
It's literally the problem.
That is a problem.
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh.
Okay, let me rephrase. It's not so much that the levels right now are insurmountable. It's how much we're contributing to it. I mean, it is a fact that back in, like, say, the Cretaceous, the carbon levels and the global average temperature was much higher than it is today, and life was still able to continue. But that's not the problem that we're concerned. We're concerned with today and how it will affect our livelihood today, not just our livelihood, but the way that we're able to and I'm going to use this phrase very loosely, keep dominion over
Well,
the earth
we
the way
won't.
that we do.
We won't because
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
will happen is that the equatorial regions will become uninhabitable, and all those people
For
that are around the equator, they're going to pick up and they're going to walk north.
or
We
further
have
south.
more immigrants. That's good.
away
No.
from the equator.
That will collapse governments.
There,
I thought immigration
there's
We're
no
not talking- We're not talking about a few thousand people. We're talking about all of Mexico and Latin America getting up and walking north. All of them.
That's good.
No, it's not. You're a clown.
It should
good.
not be politicians that make these decisions about what's going on with the earth.
Yes.
It's a problem. It should not be
Yes.
politicians.
Especially
It should not be lay
politicians
people. It shouldn't be me. It shouldn't be Mark. It shouldn't be Elijah.
Correct.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially politicians that are arguing with people that have devoted their lives to studying this and have like way more knowledge on it. And you're basically asking people who are being funded by petrochem and fossil fuel industries to act against them for the benefit of people. Like this isn't rocket science. It's you know, how do you explain why the fossil fuel industry is pumping tons in donations towards politicians?
That's called politics. It's
Corruption. Corruption.
Yeah, lobbying. That's
Same
what
thing.
they do.
Okay.
They lobby.
So Trump. I don't know if Trump is for the gold standard. I haven't heard him say anything.
What is
He
Trump
hasn't really
for?
said anything about.
Do we
the
know?
Fed
Is Trump
reserve.
for anything really?
But
Like
well,
being honest and transparent. Is
for
he really for
carbon
anything?
reduction, he thinks clean water is all we need. He
He
doesn't.
thinks that's the.
I don't even think he understands what carbon is.
He doesn't know.
I don't think he's for anything.
It's a pencil.
I don't think Trump
No,
is
I
for
agree with
anything.
Issa.
Yeah.
He's definitely
Yeah, I
not
agree.
for me.
Issa. When I saw the Biden and Trump debate, I could not really pick out one actual policy he forwarded. Not sort of vagaries, but not actually one implementable policy that he outlined in that entire debate. Not one.
I agree, Mark.
Yeah,
I saw your review and it was good. It's deeply problematic that this is what's happening in the United States, that we don't even have like a serious election. You know, it's just ridiculous.
All right, let's go to tariffs. So Trump wants to increase tariffs on imports.
Oh,
No
Wow.
support.
What?
Zero.
No, what?
Zero support.
Anybody support increasing tariffs?
well, he doesn't
protect
understand how
US
tariffs
jobs.
work. He thinks that overseas companies pay the tariffs, and that's not how that works.
No, the
Explain
consumer, the U.S. consumer pays the tariffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're paying a tax on imported goods.
Well, the idea is that you're supposed to make imports more expensive so people will buy
Yeah, that's an
their
indirect
produce
tax, that's what I'm
locally.
saying. Yeah, it's an indirect.
Yes.
But a lot of times what happens is that there's a little bit of adjustments they can make, or the other company will offer money. They'll give subsidies to that industry to reduce their costs, so it offsets it, so they can sell it and still hurt U.S. industries. It's like it doesn't necessarily change the cost to the U.S. consumer either. You have to look at it. It depends on where their margins are. So they might put like a 20% tariff on like an avocado is typically a dollar. We'll just say it's $1, right? And then they put a 20% tariff on it, so it'd be $1.20. But they had like we'll just make the math really simple. We'll pretend like 20 is 20%, 20 cents or whatever. So they're just going to reduce it to 80 cents because they have a 40-cent markup or whatever. And so they reduce it 20 cents. They're still making 20 cents. And then the consumer's paying the tariff. And so they still buy it for the dollar, so there's no change. So it's just the corporation and the other countries making less money is all it is. So it really depends on the market.
Yeah, but corporations notably don't just accept making less money. They just increase their prices so that they can pay the tariff.
It depends on the market.
Well, yes, that's true, but you're really talking about overseas products that are made much more cheaply overseas than in the US. I don't see that going sort of a way of, well, these companies in say China, India, places like that, who are already running at very tight margins because the American dollars are worth so much more there, just going, well, we're just gonna not make profit.
Well, sometimes it's like for tech stuff, they might have like a 500% markup. So if we put a 20% tariff on it, they just reduce it, and then okay, here's the tariff. So it just depends on the market that they're putting the tariff on. What happens to the commodity. So it's not like a net change to the consumer. So you can't just look at it like, okay, there's a 20% markup, so it's going to increase it 20% to the end user. It really does depend on each individual market what's going to happen to the end user. In the end, the end user pays all the costs. Whether the cost goes up or not is dependent upon that individual market.
Yes, but historically and generally, the price does go up for the consumer across the board. If
You're
you put
risking
tariffs on
$4
these
trillion of adjustments in prices. That's a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. People are gonna,
If they do it for agricultural, because there's the margins on ag are usually very, very tight. If they do it for tech from like China, it probably, because China, every time we've always done in the past, China runs with such high margins, not really that tight margins. It depends on the tech, right? Samsung, of course, are tight margins because they're high tech, but the lower tech stuff is the more, it really depends on the market. I'm not going to beat it anymore. I think I beat it to death, but I just don't want to make it sound like it's as simple, like it's a blanket. It'll be a blanket. Say it's 20%. It'll be a blanket 20% for every commodity, every item. It just depends on
you
each
explained it
individual
pretty
market.
well. Market forces.
Yeah. But okay, so no one's really in favor of just blanket. We're just going to do tariffs. Should we have any tariffs at all?
No.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, they're useful, as I said, they're useful for promoting when you have competition with products in your own company. They're useful for stimulating your economy. That's undeniable.
Yeah.
But it should be targeted, not just a blanket, well, we're going to put these tariffs on all imports kind of thing. That's madness.
That's what we've done. Like, say, for instance, Harley Davidson. We wanted to protect that industry in the United States, so we put tariffs on those motorcycles coming from Japan and other places because we wanted to protect Harley Davidson.
I'm against tariffs entirely, but I'm a dirty libertarian.
We're dirty.
But maybe a reciprocal tariffs, but then it's really hard. Like you brought up, Brenda, if the U.S. makes Harleys and another country makes Indians or whatever, well, the U.S. makes both, but maybe there's like a comparison between some motorcycle where they're comparable, so we could do reciprocal tariffs.
I don't know the details. I don't know the details. I simply remember news articles talking about how Harley Davidson was was really struggling with imports, and however they managed it by lobbying the government. I would imagine they got tariffs to protect them from imports. That's the extent of what I know about it.
Yeah. I don't approve of tariffs typically because I think you should just compete, but I'm a dirty libertarian.
Do we have tariffs on food in the United States? We have a policy of cheap food in the United States, right? And that's done through tax policy.
No, I think we have tariffs on some food. It depends on what it is.
I don't know. I'm just curious. We get a lot of beef from Argentina.
Import tariffs are taxed. I don't know. It looks like we have some. I didn't look for details, but I understand reciprocal tariffs. But then you get into like this war, and then people like China would manipulate their currencies to offset the tariffs.
Yeah.
So it's like, what good did the tariff do?
That was a waste of time.
Yeah, except to make us happy, like we did something.
Well, it's for political reasons mostly.
It's like WMDs in Iraq. You got them.
Entire industries collapse, then that's a problem for the government to deal with all these unemployed people all of a sudden.
But then it hurt the Chinese worker, right? The Chinese worker was hurt because the currency. I do, because I'm a libertarian. I care about all workers of the world. Oh wow, I sound like a communist now.
Workers of the world unite.
Yo, Marx was just an ANCAP. I don't know, man.
Yeah. But in that regard, but anyway, so tariffs, it sounds like in general, like there's a reason for tariffs, but not like a blanket.
I don't know enough to even have informed
Oh,
opinion.
yeah.
Christine, come up on stage if you want to. Christine, I think, is a Trump supporter. I don't think we have any. Do we have any Trump supporters on stage?
Only for specific policy that I want.
Because you want to uncover JFK assassination. I thought that was all released.
I want some
anyways.
files that I've been foiling, and I've not been able to get them. So
Okay, so we covered. So the next position, I don't know when that debate's over. Max is going to be hosting the after show on is evolution true? Of course, evolution is true. Like I wasn't. So we'll be doing an after show on that. The next part of Project 2025. So according to this, Project 2025 does not call outright for a nationwide abortion ban. Okay. However, it proposes withdrawing the abortion pill mifepristone from the market. Trump opposes that, by the way, and using existing but little enforced laws to stop the drug being sent through the post. So they want to block the morning after pill.
yeah,
The document suggests that the Department of Health and Human Services should maintain a biblically based, social science reinforced definition of marriage and family. So no more gay marriage. On this issue, at least, the document differs fairly substantially from the Republican platform. So two issues. Morning after pill, we'll cover that first, and then gay marriage is the second issue. So let's cover the morning after pill. Who thinks that the government should try to ban the morning after pill?
Absolutely not.
no.
Does anybody think that it's a government's role? Anybody from the audience want to come up on stage and argue the government should ban
I
the
could
morning
probably
after
convince
pill?
some of you dirty conservatives why you should be for abortion. If you like. But yeah, no, I think we got no one here for it, Ozzy.
Should the government fund morning after pills?
Are they expensive? I don't know.
Like $30, $50, I think.
Most people can probably get them.
If you're poor, it could be expensive, right? $30, $50 could be a day's wage.
But a condom's cheaper.
Condom's cheaper, but a condom can break. A condom could slip off.
Abortion pills are much
You
more,
should double up,
much more
and I'm kidding.
reliable.
An abortion pill doesn't always work either.
No.
I don't know where my eraser went. Okay, so we don't have any controversy over who thinks Project 2025 is full of shit on abortion pills.
Yeah, of
I
course.
do.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Like, I don't think it should matter if you're like pro-life. Like, how can you be so extreme on a pro-life that you're for like inducing a miscarriage like within 3 days of having sex? I just I don't get it. I just don't get it. Okay. Oh, look, we got DJ Batman.
They think that life starts at conception. So you've
Yeah.
got to understand that as soon as, I don't know. It's wild. But they think that some people think that the soul inhabits the body at the point of conception. And so you are killing a soul, a person, which is insane.
But that's not what Augustine thought, did he, Mark? Didn't Augustine? Yeah, it was Augustine. Thomas Aquinas. I'm sorry, Thomas Aquinas. Didn't he think that insulation took place after conceptions at some time?
Yeah. But I mean, Thomas Aquinas isn't what some fundamentalists believe is the best representative of certain religion.
Well, they don't think they're Christian.
I just want to say one quick thing on what you mentioned about the morning after pill, just real quick, is people can actually get it for free from Planned Parenthood.
Well, they want.
That's fantastic.
Well, they want to ban it.
Well, yeah, and I understand that, but I'm just saying that it's not costing anybody like $30. They can just go down there and be like, "Hey, can I get one?" They're like, "Yeah, sure, here you go."
Well, Planned Parenthood's not available in every town or city.
Yeah,
so.
And I think it should be. So.
Well, it's a private company, so how?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and they have had to
donate.
Well, and they have had problem of some Republicans. Now, this isn't all of them, but there have been some Republicans that have burnt them down to the ground. So, because they disagree with them, but
okay.
Yeah.
Now, as far as when a soul becomes a soul, the Islamic belief, I think, is something like 120 days or 4 months after conception. And the Christian belief, it actually differs between which Christian you ask. And some Christians will tell you that the annulment happens upon conception, and then others would tell you that it happens upon birth. So, I mean, even in the Christian belief, there's not a consensus of what moment the soul enters the fetus.
Yeah. Should
A
government
pseudoscientific belief like a soul shouldn't be a basis or even in any kind of factor in a political decision. That just seems asinine.
Now, we can even go back as far as somebody we like to talk about, Aristotle, and he believed that the soul entered the body around 40 days to 90 days after the conception.
So I was wrong about
depends if it was male or female. The males and females were different.
Yes, it was 40 days for the males and 90 days for the females. Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
what's your position
Aristotle as
on
a philosopher? I'm not sure Aristotle was much of a biologist.
Yeah.
Not really, but I think there was some dispute about whether women even had a soul, right?
Sure. Well, what's your position on morning after pills? Should they be banned? What's your position?
Should be handed out on every street corner like candy.
On my
What's your
personal
name? I can't pronounce.
Zerzuzyquin. Zerzuzyquin. Everybody has a hard time pronouncing it. Zerzuzyquin, and that's because the two consonants followed by a vowel, whatnot. Instead of it being Zerzusi, it turns out to Zerzus, and with the two I's instead of it being she, it ends up being Zy for Zyquin. And as far as you're welcome, or thank you. As far as my opinion on, abortion and the morning after pills, I have a strong belief against abortion. I believe that once you have made the decision, it should be a final decision, unless we are talking about, certain situations of incest or grape or any type of medical situations, then I don't. But if it's a personal view that you have chosen that you want to terminate a life, I believe that is a strong decision to make, and it should carry a weight upon it that you can no longer have birth. Should be too tight.
Well,
now,
that's a personal position. Should it be outlawed, like a legal?
No, that's what I was saying. That's my personal opinion on it. Now, another personal opinion on the morning after pill is that there shouldn't be any reason that somebody shouldn't be able to back out of a mistake if they made a mistake. So I don't find a problem with the morning after pills.
Your position is a lot like Biden, because Biden is personally against abortion.
Yes, I am personally against abortion.
But I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused, because would you vote to make abortion illegal, except in those circumstances?
No, being personally against abortion and holding a position that the government should have control over our bodies, I do not believe that the government should have control over our bodies. And one thing I find weird about the government and their control of our bodies, it seems that the only people who control is being imposed upon are the females. It's the decision of the female whether she can or cannot control her body, and it seems that the government has often taken the position that the female cannot make the decision for herself. But yet there is not a single law within any of our laws that controls what a male can or cannot do with their body.
Well, they're trying to do that too with like transgender stuff. So
to an extent, yeah. But I'm talking about like they don't control whether you can get a vasectomy or not, and that's something that often rich men do. That's something often rich men do in order to. Now I understand there are medical reasons for it, but for the most part, when it comes down to the decision of whether you want children in your life or not, that decision is commonly made by a wealthy individual.
Yeah, I understand. There's
no prevention against it.
Yeah, and then you have like the civil, like the draft of the U.S. But yes, there are different rules for women and different rules for men in the United States, which is screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
I got to take off. Thanks so much, Ozian. I really appreciate you inviting me on. It's cheers, mate. Have a good time. See you later, everyone.
Later.
Bye.
I'm glad you invited me up. Now, the primary reason for me coming up is I plan on later coming up to share a story with Max. You know what I mean? I guess I have a story that I wrote. He inspired me to write a story, space-based
well, he's
story.
doing it. He's going to be doing an after show for the debate on evolution. After whenever that debate's over, is the debate over yet?
I don't know. It was going on when you started, so I don't know.
Yeah, the after show is now going.
Oh, the after show is going now too?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up really quick. Gay marriage. We'll cover gay marriage, and then we can do. You guys can go to the after show. Gay marriage. So they want to abolish the right to gay marriage. I'm going to give my opinion really quick. I'm a libertarian. I don't think the government should be involved in marriage at all. The problem is when it comes to like death benefits, when it comes to insurance and stuff like that, you cannot get benefits and stuff unless you're married. People want to say, well, civil unions. Yeah, but civil unions don't afford you the same rights as marriage does. So if you have different fundamental rights between a civil union and a marriage, then those rights should be afforded to people equally. And if they're going to afford them to a man and a woman, then I think they should be afforded to two women.
That's dependent on your state. Here in Oregon, we honor a civil marriage doctrine, so it depends on your state if your state honors a civil marriage or not. Here in Oregon, we do honor the civil marriage, and it actually, there are people who don't have actual legal marriage documents who are able to receive marriage benefits through civil marriage. That's pretty much an Oregon thing, though. We have a lot of liberal laws here in Oregon.
You know, I think probably one of the only things that a pastor said to me that I still carry with me right now is that if it doesn't make sense, someone's making money off of it, right? So a lot of times I'll look at like government policies or laws and stuff, and I'll say, does that make sense? Like on a basic ground level, does it make sense? And if I say, well, of course not, or no, it doesn't make sense, and then I look at it and somebody can monetize it. Somebody can make money off of it some way. And in that case, I'm like, okay, then it shouldn't be a thing. Government should have no hand in this because the government should not be a for-profit thing. It's for the people, of people, by the people here in the United States, right? I mean, you can make every argument every which way for or against all those things you like, but at the end of the day, I feel like there's, at the very least, half of the country that does not feel represented by their government.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, And the after show hasn't started yet. I don't know why.
Well, the modern day debate isn't over with.
When I hear
Yeah, the
people
debate's
say,
not-
No, I
When
thought
I
I
hear-
saw it active. My mistake.
when I hear people say our leaders or people in power, it does kind of anger me, because it seems that our society in general has forgot that they are not the leaders in power. They are the representative government of our authority, and they tend to spin this narrative that they are the leaders in power. And I have discussions with individuals about certain topics within our government, and I find that a lot of them not on the conspiracy side, on the outside of the conspiracy side, which is weird. I find a lot of them are under the assumption that there's nothing really they can do about it. It's been this way for a long time. We can't change it. And I hear that. I hear that enough that I believe that a large number of our society has forgot that we are the roots and they are the tree. Do you get what I'm saying?
People don't
Form of a
vote.
bystander effect.
Yeah, look
People,
at their
people don't vote.
income.
We provide them
marriage.
the life. They're the strength.
marriage.
And we provide them the life.
Yeah.
Sorry about the gay marriage thing.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Now, as far as gay marriage, I totally support gay marriage. I don't believe that it's a business of anybody at all to dictate what somebody does with their personal life. It's not harming. It's not harming any individual. And then if there is any harm, it's to the individual involved in the gay marriage. If there's any
Then
type
why
of
regulate it?
what they argue, the whole argument behind it is that it destroys their life and whatnot. Well, that's not necessarily something that I would say is within the privy of the government.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, it has only been legal nationally in the United States for 9 years in 1 week. So it hasn't even been 9 years yet.
Correct.
But the Supreme Court's case will be 9 years old in 1 week. 1 week, 9 years.
Yeah, I don't
So-
support it. I don't oppose it because I don't think it should be regulated at all. It doesn't affect me if my neighbors get married. It doesn't affect me if somebody in Maine gets married. It does not affect me at all if two people get married. Despite it doesn't matter their gender or lack thereof. It does not matter. It doesn't affect me.
Well, the
So
reason
it
that
should
you
not
would be
it should not
happy
be a
in
question
general.
of whether or not I get to make that choice by voting and saying, "Oh,
Well,
I don't think anybody else should be able to do this just
Well,
because of the way they live their
We're
life."
gonna.
That's not my call.
But I heard about this bill that they want to pass where people who are dads are going to ban them from owning cell phones. And all my children
What?
are grown, so it doesn't matter anymore to me. So it doesn't matter to me, but so, you know, but I'm okay with it, but it doesn't really matter
What are
because
you
it doesn't
talking about?
affect me. I'm just saying, dude, it's like it shouldn't matter to you because any law that applies to, because this law does apply to you. Gay marriage applies to you because you could decide to marry a dude. Any law that can apply to universally could be applied to you. So I'm just being a little bit.
I think
silly.
well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think you missed my point. I'm not saying that it doesn't affect me because I don't partake. I'm saying it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect you, Ozzy, and it doesn't affect anybody whether or not somebody marries somebody else. Okay, if two people decide we want to get married, then that is none of my business. That is none of Ozian's business. That is none
But
of
it is my
Elijah's
business.
business. Is it? Is
Yeah,
it? If
but they're
if,
right
if
to
the
get
people 3
married,
streets over from me decide to get married, is that Ozian's business?
Is there right to get married
Is it
your
Donald
business?
Trump's business? Is
But is there
it my business?
Is there right to get married your business?
No.
Yeah, it
How
is.
is it not? How is it not?
No.
Yeah, it is.
Because
Is your right
that shouldn't be a
Is your right?
question.
Is your
one
right
way
to
or the
own
other.
Is your right to own a cell phone my business?
Is that a right or a privilege?
Is your right to? Yeah, it's a right. Is your right to own a cell phone?
I have a
my
right to
business?
this cell phone right here that I'm holding in my hand.
To-
My
to
brand new Galaxy
own-
S24.
To purchase
Okay,
Is
to
your right
purchase.
to
Okay,
purchase a cell phone my business?
your business? No,
Why?
because that is my right.
No, no, it's my right too.
Okay, then your right to own a cell phone is none of my business. You see where I'm coming from now?
No, your right to purchase a cell phone is my business.
I get where I think I
Look
get
at,
where
like-
Ozian is going here.
Okay,
that
no, let
those
me
don't care
Yeah,
wait.
let me
necessarily
reframe
about-
this. Let me reframe this again.
Okay.
When they wanted to ban a group of people from owning property, based upon their ethnicity, is that my business?
Okay, I know where you're coming from. Okay,
Is that my
because
business? It's a simple
It
question.
made
Yes
your
or no?
business.
Is it yes
It
or no
should
question?
not be. It should not be.
How's it
No.
not my business?
It
If
should not
I
be.
if
Using
I
business
can't
the right way.
speak, if I can't speak, if I can't speak, is freedom of speech my business?
Yes.
If you can't speak,
Yeah,
like
I can't
if
speak.
you don't have the ability to
Yeah.
speak,
Yeah, but I may gain it in 10 years. Who knows?
well,
You mean if
yes,
you're mute?
obvious.
If you're
I mean,
mute?
Yeah, but maybe I'll gain it in 10
it's
years.
obviously within your right to communicate. I don't think
I
it's so
might be-
much
I might-
just vocal
I
speech,
might-
but outward communication.
I might decide that I've always been bi and decide to marry a dude in 10
Okay.
years.
And that's none of my business. Like that has absolutely
it
nothing to do with me, and
is
I
your
should not be allowed
business.
to, and nobody else should be
Well,
allowed
this
to
is the
say
problem with
whether
your
or not
thinking.
that's okay.
Let me put it out
Rights
simply.
are your business. All rights.
Nobody.
So
All
Ozian,
rights
But here-
It shouldn't.
are all of
It
our
shouldn't be a right
business.
one way or the other. It should just be a
Literally,
thing that
so
people are
we're
allowed
not-
to
Here-
do. Period, without any kind of regulation
So
whatsoever.
then we should be allowed
Is it my
to
right
pass.
to breathe?
Then
or
we should
believe?
allow the government. This is the flaw in your thinking. If the government wants to pass a law to say you should be put in jail because your name is red and your name is red, it's none of my business. No one should care. No one should intercede. No one should do anything to intercede on your behalf because it's none of your business because your name is red.
that's where I thought you
Government
were
wants to
going.
pass a law to put you in prison because your name is red. No one should
And
do
here's the flaw in
Because
that.
it's none
right?
of-
The government
there's
can't
no flaw,
just
it's
come
your
up
argument.
with. Government can't just come up and say we're going to make this law.
But
Why?
they can.
Period.
Why couldn't they?
Why? Why can't
Fine.
they?
Because
Look
it
at
has to
the
be
Why
voted
can't
on.
they?
homeless.
And if everybody decides, well, we're not going to
Well,
vote
if
on that
everybody
because
has
it's none
your
of my fucking
opinion-
business.
Do you
Why-
know how votes
why-
often happen? Most votes happen through Congress. They
Wait,
don't even
no,
happen through the
this
public
is your
vote.
problem.
It's only a vote that they don't
Red.
think will fit through Congress
Hold
that
on.
goes to a public
No,
vote.
he's flawed. No, let me point out the flaw in his logic. Red, listen. Here is a flaw in your logic. You know, Red, why they don't vote to make a law to put you in prison? Because they make it their business to not want to vote to make a law to put you in prison because it's their business.
So are we
to not
launching
do
off
it.
of a foundation that the government has all the power and they can do whatever they want?
No, the
regardless
people
of
No,
what
the
fucking
people
Because
do.
that's
Okay,
the
so that's
opposite.
where I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from.
We
But if-
make it
listen,
our business because we
see,
make
if-
it our
if-
business. We make it
No.
our business.
It
we
should
make
not
it our
be my
business.
business. Period.
We make it our business to not allow the government to make laws to put people in prison with names that of red. We make it our business to not empower the government to put people in prison with a name of red. That's my business. It absolutely is.
Essentially, let's talk about patriotism. It is the most patriot act to actually reach out and tell your government that you, even though you may not care about this thing, because it's not involving you, that other individuals, that's what patriotism is, caring about other individuals. So it's your job to go out and tell your politicians that you want these laws that include other individuals, regardless if it definitely affects you or not personally. It is a patriot act to make sure to look out for the welfare of everybody around you. The only thing that patriotism means is to look after the people around you.
But here's
Oh
the thing.
God.
Let me.
Universally
cover the last
applicable
topic.
laws for all people.
I just want to say one last thing.
We got one more topic. So if it's
What is it?
if
Is
it's
it
about
tech,
gay
right?
marriage, go ahead. Well, what is
Alright,
it?
yeah.
man?
Okay. So I just wanted to say, you know, and it does relate to gay marriage and stuff, is that when we make laws banning certain things or making things not okay, at one point, yes, it may not affect you directly, but a lot of laws have a tendency to start to discriminate against other people, and eventually it will come after you. So we either give people the right to be able to get married, or people that have certain powers will eventually be like, well, I don't want now these certain people to get married or these certain people to get married, and then eventually it will eventually come down to you. We either
So
give people
inclusive
their
and
rights.
exclusive rights is what this is about. Not necessarily who can and cannot get married. We're just talking about who's included and who isn't included in the law. It essentially boils down to, okay, well, the laws don't apply to all people exactly the same.
Well, sometimes
Why?
when they form laws in
Okay.
order to curtail a certain portion of our society. Now, here in Portland, Oregon, we had what was called shoot, I can't remember. It was anyway, there was areas in the city which you couldn't go to without relinquishing your right to search and seizure, your right to protection of your identity. Basically, they were stop and frisk areas of our city. And
that
it was
applied to
deemed that all of
everybody,
that-
period.
Yes,
It
and
didn't
what
matter if it
ended
was
up
a rich person, a poor person, a white person, a black person, a green person.
Well, unless you're
exactly,
a
and what ended
lawyer
up happening
that
was
they
the
recognize.
rich people
applicable.
within the Pearl District, which happened to have been one of the drug-free zones. That's what they were called. One of the rich people within the Pearl District were having problems getting to their businesses because cops were stopping them for frickin' drug interest, and regardless of and it wasn't a drug interest. It was just person in this area at this time stopped and harassed for an hour before they can get to work.
Okay, I want to
Universally
cover these
voted
last.
against it.
applicable
One
laws.
more.
for
Yeah,
all
let's
I
go.
want to cover these last
And they-
topics really
There
quick.
you go.
Voted against it. Well, give me a second.
Hold
They
on.
voted against it, which actually argues that if you put yourself, even though it doesn't affect you, because not everybody lives in the Pearl District, if you put yourself in front of the government and tell them what your views are, then the views of the government changes, and that's why they decided to remove that law from Portland.
All right. This is not a politics channel. Who said that, Captain? This isn't a Flurf channel, Captain Flurf Watch. I know all the flat earthers think this is a flat earth channel.
Oh, if they want me to smack around Flurs, I can do that.
Now, this
Yeah,
is
no,
this is
no.
an Ozian channel,
No more
and if
Flurf.
Ozian wants to talk about politics, then it's a political channel. If Ozian wants to talk about flat Earth, then it's a flat Earth channel.
You're
If
welcome
Ozian
up
wants
on
to
my
talk
panel
about banana
anytime.
flavored popsicles, it's a banana flavored popsicles channel.
Christine, I don't know, Captain Flurf Watch. I'm sorry. Anyways, we talk about whatever here. But tech and education is the last one. Ban pornography.
Absolutely, yeah, go for it. Do it. No,
Ban wokeism.
it'll make you go blind.
Whatever
That's
that
what they say.
means.
Whatever, yeah.
Ban the terms from all laws and all federal regulations, these terms: sexual orientation, gender equality, abortion, and reproductive rights. Okay. That's it. Let's talk ban porn. They want to ban porn.
Good luck.
Well, Oz is always trolling Captain Flirt Bosch. Sorry.
Good
Well,
I thought you were
VPNs
talking to me.
exist.
In a way, I think our society is moving away from that. I think we're moving more towards an acceptance of nudity within our society. You can see that within
You're living
certain
Portland,
shows.
Oregon, dude.
Well, you can see that within certain shows. Like, we'll just take what was it? The Heroes, I think it's called, or whatever, where they're the superheroes and they do a little bit of political, stuff in it, but they tend to show dongs quite regularly, and it's not edited whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the people that have been complaining about the show are complaining mostly of their political take and not necessarily that of the dongs that are being shown quite regularly on their show. So I think we're kind of growing away from the need for scrutiny.
Who thinks Trump's going to support banning pornography?
Not a chance.
Stormy Daniels. We'll just say Stormy Daniels.
Ozian's dying. Help him.
That's
I mean, that's kind of like Law and Order banning pornography. They're two totally things that Trump doesn't know anything about.
okay. So I don't think anybody really supported this thing overall. There might be a couple points here or there. Like
a few points. That's not like the major though. Like, oh my gosh, Die Hard 2025 fan.
Plus, at the end of the day, even if they did ban it, I mean, there's a thing called VPNs. So,
But it just makes it illegal, though.
Yeah.
Which means no
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, through the
Now-
VPN, you can just go
wait.
ahead and act like you're in Europe or something,
I got to show you something. This is very important. I learned this from training the trainers. Okay, watch. When you erase a board, you're supposed to do this up and down, because when you go like this, you wiggle your ass, and no one wants to watch you wiggle your ass when you're erasing the board.
You do realize we can only see your shoulders, right? We can't see your ass.
Yeah.
I can
If I'm
still see
not
his
back
face.
there like I was.
And I will say real quick though, because
Oh, at least somebody heard me say it.
I don't think anybody caught it.
But
Yeah.
I said I could still see his face.
No, you gotta go back further.
We'll just leave
No, you
that.
do
I got
call,
you,
yeah.
man. I got you.
Can't go back any further.
But I will say some of the states that do want to ban it, especially Texas. I mean, Texas itself is a crazy state. I mean, the fact that it's illegal to own a certain amount of, sex toys is absolutely ridiculous. They're like, "Oh, you have how many? You're in trouble now." It's
Well, I
like,
mean, there are
what
old
the
laws
hell?
that are still on the books that are not upheld. Like I think there's one in
No, they
Florida
still hold them
where
in Texas.
well, I'm just saying like there's like ridiculous laws in places like in Florida. There's one says that more than 4 women, or it's to the effect that more than 4 women can't live in a house together without it being considered a brothel.
Yeah, there's some of those weird
there's
old
just like
laws.
really
I can't
weird
remember
on the
what
books
state,
laws
but
that are
there's
just
a
not enforced.
There's a state that you can't have peanuts on a carnival lot because it's a circus treat. It's strange. I don't remember what state it is, but it's still an active law, which is odd.
Like, there's a town in northeast Arkansas called Jonesboro, and I believe it's still on the books. There's a law that says you can't spit indoors.
No, another one is
I've
in
been to
Texas.
Singapore.
Sitting indoors anyway.
Camels indoors?
In Texas, I guess if you break up somebody's marriage and you end up marrying their spouse and they can show that you intentionally broke up the marriage, then they can sue you for monetary damages. Only in Texas.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the panel. I think we had a great discussion. I'll try to break it down even more for more of the areas to maybe when I have time. If you aren't familiar with our schedule, I was supposed to have a debate today about the moon hoax stuff, but I have a bunch of debates coming up. I should have wrote those on my board, but I didn't. I should write them on the other side. I'll do that for the next show. So after this, I'm going to redirect you to the after show, which will be after show about evolution on trial between Evidence of God versus William the Engineer. And then tomorrow we got a debate about the flat earth between Max versus Artem, and Dr. J will be moderating. So I got some time off, but I'm sure I'll be in the backstage tagging questions and working in the chat because I can't not do something. And then the next day we got a discussion on climate change between Dr. J and Deviator, and I'll be hosting that discussion. And then on Monday, we have a debate between Issa and Leo on capitalism versus socialism. I'll be moderating that. And then tentatively on the 23rd, I got a debate between the moon landing hoax is supposed to be today, between Beat by Barbie with her laser pistol versus Watchfrog Agent. And then on the 24th, hopefully, we have a debate between Aaron Raw and Dave DB, who you've seen on here before debating morality, to talk about if Biden should drop out of the race. So that should be on the 24th, about 6 p.m. Eastern time. Aaron hasn't confirmed the date yet. I'm still waiting on him to confirm the date. And then on the 26th, what's that?
Oh, I just sorry, I laughed. I forgot I wasn't muted. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And then on the 26th, we got another debate. And anyways, you can look at the schedule. We got debates scheduled out and panels scheduled out through the 30th of July. And I'm working on getting more stuff scheduled out. So hopefully everybody can come watch that out. So I'm going to end this. And really quick, everybody can say bye. If you want to give out your social media stuff, go ahead and do that. Like 5 seconds or so. So we'll start with Elijah and then work around with Batman and stuff like that. Go ahead, Elijah.
Now I'm on YouTube, Elijah Rivera. As you can type it in, you'll find me. I have a Guts profile pic from the anime Berserk. And I'm also on Modern Day Debate. I have a lot of controversial topics to talk about. That's me.
Yeah. Batman.
Just I'm glad that you guys, I mean, you do a lot more debates and stuff and bringing up more conversations. It's great. You know, it's great to talk about other things than the typical religion or flat earth all the time. You know, it's good to have those extra stuff in there every so often. But if anybody would like to check out, you know, the stuff I do with the work that I create, all the stuff I create, you can check me out on Twitter at Abelo Products. I'll make sure to put that in the chat because a lot of people spell it wrong. And then you can check out my store on Etsy at Neek Squad 3D Prints.
Yeah, Tyler, I talked to Tyler asked a question, will we be doing after shows? I talked to Max today about starting to do our own after shows for our debates. You should start seeing those too. So good question. Thank you. Dad is bored. Do you have anything to say?
Berserk is an awesome anime. I like that. Other than that, I mean, no, not really. I don't do social media now. I was on recently, but some stuff went down, and now I'm away from that. Oh,
you were
I'm
fine the whole time. You just
oh,
now you're good.
Did that? I think it might have been because I was bumping my mic. Might have been a loose connection. Sorry, but no. Yeah, I was on social media, not anymore. Some recently went down, and I don't do that now. So yeah, now I just come around and hide behind anonymity with a goofy name, and talk about science when I can. I don't normally do politics. I just felt like coming in here and being a little disruptive, you know, and stirring the stink, as it were.
Well, I appreciated having you, giving your input on the conversation. You there, Issa? You want to say anything? You have a debate coming up against Leo on Monday. You're there. Guess not. What about you, Xerxes? I can't pronounce the last name now.
Call him Zers.
Zerzu Zyquin.
Well, thank you for coming to the show. with that, I'm going to end it there. You're going to get redirected to the after show. I'm not sure when the debate's going to end on Modern Day Debate. You can go check out that too. But thank you everybody for coming here, and I'll see you all tomorrow, hopefully at 8 p.m. I think is when the debate's scheduled, and I'll be working in the chat trying to engage with you to get some questions for the debaters. So hopefully you all show up. Thank you all for being here. Like, share.
I realized my mic was muted. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm
Really quick.
basically it's Zerzeus. If you want, you can find me on Rumble or here on YouTube through Zerzeus. Make sure it's ZERZUZE. That's easy to find. I basically attack anything stupid as far as sovereign citizens, frauditors, flat earthers. I also make AI music, which I enjoy quite a bit. And that's about it. As always, you guys are awesome. Remember, you don't have to be wise. Just don't submit to stupid.
My first debate on Modern Day Debate was on frauditors. So it's interesting.
I haven't had a debate with frauditors. It's hard to set up debates with frauditors. I've actually tried to set up debates with frauditors with other channels that attack frauditors, and it's impossible to get them together for a debate, if you know what I mean.
Well, I go after. Are you? Well, we'll talk about it. Send me an email. Maybe we can set something up. With that, thank you, everybody. Like, share, subscribe. If you want to set up a debate, you can find me on Discord. It matters now. Links in the description. You can message Ozian or find me on X. It's Twitter at Ozian Talks, and we can set something up or send me an email. All that stuff's in the description for Matters Now. Until next time, bye-bye.
Hey,